Welcome back, everybody. We are getting right into draft here for game two of the AOE God Squad versus Omega Gaming Unleashed. We got the team names up for you in the pro draft this time around, so everyone's going to know who's who. But we are getting right into game two of this best of two. My name is Gordo, and I am joined once again by Rudude. And Rudude, we saw a banger of a game one, and going to see an attempt to turn it around from AOE God Squad in game two. Yeah, absolutely. And we are going to be getting right on into these bands. We are going to have just going to see some pretty standard stuff coming on through from both sides. Not too much change from last game, and but we do have the different sides swapped here, so might be a chance for one team or the other to pull out a new strategy. It is going to be the Olaf for AoE God Squad this time.
Yeah, so taking away that priority pick, which, led Unleashed through the early game and led them toward that really strong Mountain Soul that they were able to pick up. Also, of course, with the counter jungling that the Olaf was able to get down, we saw that that was a really nice alleyway into the game, and now picking up the Talia as a response. You can't seismic shove the Olaf if he's using his ulti, but pre-level 6, and there are a lot of other targets to use with the Talia. If you do pick up this champion in the jungle, you are looking to pair it with a little bit of hard CC, something in the mid lane or the top lane that can really set up the Talia for success. Typically, the seismic shove incredibly difficult to land, so if you've got something like a gold card, for example, that point click CC really enables the Talia for success.
Yeah, for sure. Might also see it paired with something like the Renekton up in the top
hmm
lane. That's been a very classic duo we've seen there. And might be something that Malcolm and Fallen Artemis want to pull on out there. And now we're going to see another mainstay of the current 80 carry meta. We're going to see Kaisa picked up for the AoE God Squad. A little bit of a different look this game, and definitely a powerful marksman down in the bot lane.
Exactly. They're probably one of the top tiers of ADC right here, sitting right there with Aphelios. We're going to have to wait and see what Omega Gaming Unleashed answer with, but they do pair up that Kai'Sa with a beautifully aggressive support as well. That Thresh really going to look to take this Seraphine down into the Nether Realms and really make it difficult for her to play out this game. There's always that chance, of course. This Seraphine gets flexed around the map. Still want to point out it can go mid lane if it wants to. But Sub looks really confident on it, yes, or in at least game number one. Might have to see him whip it out again for game number two. Looks like Aphelios going to be the answer, and this is sort of standard into Kai'Sa.
Yeah, definitely those kind of 2 plus Jin have really been the major mainstays of the 80 carry meta for 2021 thus far. A little bit of misfortune sprinkled in there, as well as some other picks, but the Aphelios Kaisa Jin, really the holy trinity over there. And now we're going to see some more bans come through. The Renekton duo for the Talia going to get banned away by the AoE God Squad, whereas Omega Gaming going to take away Lucian mid, it looks like.
Yeah, so opting to maybe deny something that is really strong into this Seraphine. Not sure quite how the Lucian matchup works, or if they're just particularly blinding some picks that may be expecting from AoE God Squad. That said, though, really nice bans from AoE as they're taking away that Renekton, which you'd already highlighted as a potential one into the top lane. Taking away the Galio as well, a couple of hard CC options been removed already.
Yeah, but definitely that TF going to be a spicy possibility. You brought it up earlier as something that goes really well with the Talia. You know, it would be a very similar look to game one where we saw Princeton over on that Galio. So might be able to see another bit just good global teleport and mid laner coming through for the side of Omega Gaming Unleashed. They have a great opportunity here to potentially lock it in. Alternatively, though, they can start blinding their top laner, just go for one of the power picks. They have a lot of options.
Yeah, and with the GP being taken away right there, that's the first real ban that we've seen targeted at Omega Gaming Unleashed. So Malcolm going to be removed from that champion, and if you wanted nice hard CC, Malphite definitely sets you up for that one with the Unstoppable Force in the top lane, taking that one as a blind pick. There's a few counters up on the table, so if things like Mordekaiser, Silas want to come through for AoE God Squad, then there's always that possibility to really try and take top lane to the Malphite, especially with the Olaf as well. Definitely the possibility to cut this big rock down to size in the early game.
Yeah, if you're gonna take away his gangplank, then Smalkram's just gonna pick this big ol' rock and he's gonna go right on in. Another champion that has potential to maybe pair with the Talia a little bit, can just go in with his ultimate and have basically the same effect as any of those targeted CCs, as it is very difficult to evade that unstoppable force once it comes through. And it looks like just going to be the Shen coming through again for Flaming Thunder. He feels like that was not the problem last game. He likes the global pressure that it brings, and he's going to go for it again, this time paired up with the Olaf in the jungle and Oriana in the mid lane.
Yeah, so taking a staple blind pick mid laner right here. I'll have to wait and see what Princeton in the mid lane answers with. We've still got a lot of open ended mid laners, things like Anivia, like Victor as well. Very strong in the current meta that we've not yet seen in tonight's progress, but we could well see it as an answer to the Oriana here. If they wanted some early game safe farming, that's definitely not the power pick that, Anivia wants, but at the very last second, Princeton going to whip out the Yone and take the matchup to the Oriana in the mid lane.
Yeah, Princeton, a classic assassin player, and is going to go right back into that kind of comfort right there. He's going to pick up the Yone, and he is going to be throwing down the gauntlet in that mid lane up against this Oriana, looking for some mechanical outplays, looking for some fancy flanks, some good fighting, and just the AOD damage source that can complement that AP Talia in the jungle.
Exactly, and with the Malphite up in the top lane as well, just giving that little bit of extra magical damage as well. It's really important to get yourself that nice variation in the damage profiles. And whilst Aphelios definitely going to be able to pump out a ton of AD damage, having the Yone as well, just going to add to that.
Yeah, and this time around, it's going to be a little bit of a different jungle matchup because the Olaf, going to be able to win duels with the Talia early, assuming he's able to get on top of her. So it's now going to be up to Fallen Artemis to try to kind of path away from the Olaf, get a little bit of farm. Going to have a lot of really powerful gank potential and a lot of really strong scaling, but can't quite do the 1v1 in the way that the Olaf he was on last game was able to.
Yeah, and if we take a look back at game number one, right? I mean, Fallen Artemis didn't really fight on the Olaf early on, was just using superior map movements to net advantages across the map. With Pantheon in the last game, of course, going down bot lane, expending Flash at level 3, it just opened up Fallen Artemis to move into the topside jungle and start getting advantages through that method, just getting XP leads by stealing away the enemy camps and starting to get himself rolling in the ball that direction. And if we see a similar situation amass itself this time round, I see no reason for Fallen Artemis to need to be in range and be need to fight with this Olaf. We're really waiting for the Talia to maybe get that mythic, get those tier 2 boots before she becomes that completely potent force. And the Olaf from just the get go, absolutely a terror in the jungle.
Yeah, and assuming that Fallen Artemis is potent on all the champions being banned against him, he's really displaying that he's got a great champion pool for this meta coming through. He's been playing the Olaf in the first game. He's busting out the Talia here in game two, and now he's been pulling Graves and Kindred bans both games and pulled a Lilia ban in the first game. So he's got so many potent carry picks here that it just seems like you can't stop this guy from getting on a powerful meta jungler. He plays it all.
Exactly, and that is some versatility that Fallen will have been bringing to the table here. And obviously, since they've moved Malcolm up to the top lane, and not to discredit Malcolm's jungle at all, but just opening up much more in terms of what they can be playing and what they can be picking is always going to enable Unleashed for great amounts of success. Just the diverse pools across the board, really, always going to help out.
And so Malcolm pulling his own share of bans now because they took away his Renekton and his Gangplank this game, and he's just going on in with the Malphite and just going to be a really powerful engage tool here, going to have a lot of chain CC potential to just hold people down for this Aphelios here with Malphite and Yone and Seraphine all being able to just get these champions all grouped together and just holding them still for the damage of Fallen Artemis and adjustment.
Yeah, I don't want to know how dirty the team fighting potential is going to be for Omega Gaming Unleashed. If they find that beautiful team fight in the choke, it's just going to be an absolute catastrophe. It'll just go within an instant, 100-0, and or the fight will just literally be over. If they get a good seismic shove as well, Yone collapses everybody in the end of his ulti, setting the Malphite up for that as well, and then just a shove through all of that. Aphelios with Infernum ulti. Seraphine ult on top of that, it just writes itself for the team fights that we can expect to see.
Yeah, no, it really feels like a really strong draft for the side of Omega Gaming Unleashed coming into this game. Just doesn't seem to be a lot of really powerful options coming through from AoE God Squad. They're going to probably be losing some prio in quite a few of these lanes here. They're not going to have a lot of opportunities to push in the wave and to make use of their aggressive Olaf pick. So if Fallen Artemis is able to path correctly and is able to find the openings that he wants, he's going to have his pick of the litter here for what lane he wants to move into and where he wants to go on the map.
Exactly, and Oriana, not innately mobile in any way, has got the little bit of the speed up and the shield as well to buy a little bit of time. Top lane have got that Shen with the taunt, but again, Malphite has enough slows and with that level 6 has an ultimate as well. Down on the bot lane is a little bit more difficult to gank if you opt into that bot lane play. Kai'Sa has got speed up and ultimate, Thresh Lantern as well, typically going down there. You want to focus out the Thresh just so that he can't really provide the safety net of that Lantern.
Yeah, you certainly do, and this going to be a pretty tough task for the side of AoE God Squad really to even move out of that bot lane very effectively, though, as Aphelios is going to have powerful wave clear tools a decent percentage of the time when he has those chakrams or when he has access to Infernum, and Seraphine, just such a powerful wave clear in her own right, can launch the Qs to hit the whole wave and can often double Q just to burst through that wave even more. The E is so long range that it can clear through the whole thing as well. She just has so much wave clear potential. That's why you're seeing her in some of these carry roles sometimes. But even from the support role, just going to be shoving this wave in over and over and over again.
Exactly, and when we see the Moonstone Renewal come through, I expect that to be the item once again right here. Having that W to just help out literally everybody on your team. It's got such a big range. Everybody's going to be feeling the benefits of it, and getting all of that healing back from Moonstone Renewer as well. You just get so much value from it. Really loving to see that item come out and see a lot more play for it because it is actually very, very strong.
Yeah, and we are going to be seeing both of these strong team fight comps coming in against each other and clashing in this game too. This is going to be the last game between these two teams tonight, but we are going to have another best of two series featuring both Omega Gaming Unleashed and Meme City Rush tonight. But first, we're going to be playing out this one. We got to get loaded up first, though, so we are going to take a quick break while we get into the game. Do not go anywhere. We will be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to Game 2 in the XLNC Mid-League between the AOE God Squad and Omega Gaming Unleashed. My name is Gordo, and I am joined once again by Rudude for this Game 2. And Rudude, once again, we are going to see the side of AOE God Squad, maybe going for some level 1 here.
Yeah, they're stacking up in their own jungle right here, maybe anticipating something from Unleashed early on, but you can see they're just going to adopt the 5-point spread right here and not really going to be too worried about finding an invade, finding any early game wards. Just going to be that standard 5-point split, and this stackage from AoE, all for nothing.
Yeah, just going to be spreading on out, making sure that, nothing like we saw last game occurs where all 5 members are able to sneak on into one of the jungles, get some wards down, maybe even placing some defensive wards here on the side of Fallen Artemis as he throws down his trinket ward, recalls, and picks up that scanner. It looks like he's going to be trying to start on the bottom side this game, maybe looking to path bottom as the game goes on.
Yeah, and with looks like what might actually be a red buff beginning here, gonna either look for that similar clear that the Pantheon went for, be it that fast level 3 into a gank, or starting up there for a quick 4 and a full clear in his jungle. Definitely will set him up for that fast level 6, for all of those items to come on through and really put his name out there and put him on the map in terms of this Talia early game presence.
Yeah, and this is going to be a really exciting game for Princeton here, as he has made his name on these assassin picks, and this game is going to be on the Yone early, getting bullied out by the Orianna with as level 1, maybe not quite as powerful as he would like, but once he's getting those levels under his belt, once he's able to actually get into those trades, really curious to see what Princeton can bust out here.
Yeah, you mentioned it. These are like his signature pocket picks right here. And in the early game, we're expecting the Yone to get battered around a little bit here. The Orianna, with those auto attacks, will be able to really put the harass down. But if the Orianna's auto attacking him, then it does mean that the wave is pushing into him, and it means that he's going to have a fairly decent time at least keeping the wave on his side. That being said, if he dashes in and starts autoing and chopping the wave for itself, it might become a little bit more difficult for him. Already in the mid lane, taking a little bit of harass right here. Does have the fleet footwork, but definitely going to struggle at least to keep level with the Ori in terms of levels of HP.
Yeah, the Yone, really one of those picks that I think is getting underrated in some of these really powerful Wombo teamfight comps, because he just brings something that very few champions do, which is the ability to actually gather everybody close together, but I'm going to have to take a break here as the sub is going to get hooked in incredibly early here. At risk of going down, he's going to have to flash to get out of the way of the turret and get out of the way of Beast Lance's damage, but he's going to be now so incredibly low, and he's going to find himself down both summoners and adjustments heal in that bot lane.
Yeah, I mean, they use all the summoners. It is profitable enough to keep them alive, but burning 3 summoners right there cannot get hooked anymore. Nice taunt on the top side as well. That's that Spirit Blade going through.
Yeah, Malcolm taking a bunch of damage there, also taking damage from the minions themselves there, while Flaming Thunder can just, he pulls through it again, gonna get a good trade there, but there's so many minions auto-attacking this Shen here that it actually is going to end up being a favorable trade for Malcolm.
Yeah, he's going to be able to do that cheater recall, push in a nice big wave, go for the back, and maybe even go back into that lane without teleporting, depending on how big that wave is going to be on the top side of the map. Going to recall, picks himself up. We'll have to wait and see what he's going for here. Most likely going to be that Sunfire Aegis rush. Instead going to go for the Dark Seal, gets himself a little bit more HP from those Corrupting Potion stacks, and a little bit more damage as well from those Seismic Shards.
Yeah, now the sub going to have to be incredibly careful in the bot lane with this Thresh now, as he's now been hooked once and forced to blow his flash, so he's going to have to be careful, as just one death sentence is going to be, just as the name implies now, really going to be potentially ending this lane really early before it can even get started.
Yeah, and this is the power of that Thresh pick that they'd picked up for pretty much this exact reason. Trying to find some early game aggression, trying to punish the sub for picking an immobile support, one of those squishier champions in nature. Typically, if you're able to hook them up, it's the same sort of thing as a Blitzcrank onto a Sona. You find the connection, you're typically able to find the kill, and they've burned 3 summoners once, they won't be able to do that again for a long while. Now Princeton in the mid lane.
Going aggressively here, not going to be able to pick up the kill, but is going to get the snap back from his Soul Unbound there. A really good use of that ability to go in for aggressive trades that on most champions would be over-aggression, would be just absurd to be chasing up that far. But since he knows he's going to be snapping back really shortly, he can go really aggressive and trace this Orianna all the way back to her turret, even though his wave is nowhere near there.
No, exactly. And something that is worth pointing out is going to be the fact that the Olaf did secure double Scuttle Crab on the Talia. So you can see the mismatch in the items right there. Phage up against 2 Amplifying Tomes in the early game at least. Going to favour up the Olaf and give him even more gap close capability. A little bit of HP as well in the item, so we will have to wait and see, of course, if that keeps on going and if the Olaf can start to try and find some successes. You know, this point last game we'd seen Unleashed find themselves a couple of kills, maybe a little bit of an advantage in the jungle, but so far keeping the game nice and slow, favouring Omega Gaming Unleashed in this late game team comp with the team fighting that they're going to want to take.
Yeah, I'm pretty surprised not to see Drunken Blind down in the bot side right now, as that dragon is going to be spawning up. As you know, they have the summoner advantage in the bot lane. You would think he would want to try to force something here and make that dragon happen. And just as I'm saying that, he is pathing right on down around here, looking to see what's going to happen, looking to see if the side of Omega might push up a little bit too far here. But now, just like that, Jabber might be the one who is, as he's going to face check that bush and he's going to be forced to flash.
Oh, and Fallen sees the...
Oh, but now that's a big hook going down onto the sub, and the sub with no flash available is going to be easily picked up for first blood, going to get stolen away by the Thresh there, and now Drunken Blind is right on top of Fallen Artemis, but Princeton is here to back him up. He goes in where the Fate sealed and is going to try to pick up that kill, but it's going to be met with an ultimate from Shen that gets interrupted by Simulcrum. Excellently played by him there to keep the fight even across the map, but it looks like there's not going to be any more action going on down here. Adjustment gets the snake down, but he's tanking up the minions, and he's going to get flashed onto by Beast Lance, who is going to take him down.
Yeah, that 5th plasma stack dealing the bonus damage. Beast Lance able to find the kill right there. That should mean Dragon here for AOE, and they're going to be able to pick themselves up that early game advantage that we talked about. Omega Gaming Unleashed trying to go toe-to-toe with this early game Olaf. Not paying off for them. Princeton's ulti going a little bit short. The Shen ulti on the top side as well, just to provide a little bit more safety. AOE giving them what they asked for in this early game, and definitely a closer matchup already.
Yeah, maybe not the easiest dragon in the world, maybe not the freebie that you expect from the Olaf, but certainly going to be a hard-fought and well-deserved one getting picked up over by the side of the AoE God Squad here. And just like that, they're going to get their Olaf snowballing early on. He's got 2 assists now, and they've got a kill on each of their bot laners. Would likely have preferred the Jabber didn't pick up that first blood, but it's better than nothing for sure. There's going to be 200 assist gold going on to the carries either way.
Exactly, and picking up a couple of kills like that definitely helps out, but we do have a little bit of a pause here, ladies and gentlemen, and looks like, I think it's our ADC, maybe, that they said was DC'd. We will have to wait and see how that goes, but it's a good sort of time to sit back, assess the team compositions as a whole, and really start looking at where they want to go. It does look like the R's are coming through, and we might get a bit of a ready going on and the game to resume. But, you know, we talked about it and slightly touched on it, that Omega Gaming Unleashed as a whole definitely want to be playing towards those team fights, whereas AoE looking toward that early game. And Gordo, as always with pauses, as long as nothing happens up on this top lane. If I could say 7:45.
Yeah, give me one moment here. I am going to have to get up my time controls here. I will take us right back to 7:45, and then we can get all synced up. Give me just a couple of seconds here. Sorry about that, everybody.
No worries. And everybody, of course, if you're familiar with the channel, me being from the UK, it does mean that we do have to resync after a pause, just so that me and Gordo are giving you guys the best experience in terms of casting.
I'm at 7:45.
Beautiful. If I hit it in 3, 2, 1 on pause, we are going to be
all right,
nice and synced back up. Hopefully all good in the hood. And Princeton going to be holding this mid wave, looking to put down a little bit of the hurt onto Sharp Circle.
Yeah, going once again aggressively with that Fate Unbound, and going to go right on back, snaps back under the turret, and just getting some favorable trades here. I was trying to bring up this earlier, but Princeton going to be such a big factor in these team fights and with this team fight composition, because his ultimate, the Fate Unsealed, or the Fate Sealed rather, can group everybody together. It's the sort of tool that very few champions have access to. A lot of champions have big AoE damage and big AoE CC, but they don't have the ability to actually move the champions all into the same spot. Yone can do that.
No, exactly, and it's a bit of an ode to old Victor W, I suppose, where once you got that evolved, you would pull everybody into the center of the gravity well, and now comes the engage.
Yeah, going for the Fate Unsealed, gonna get flashed away there by Sharp Circle there, and that's gonna be pretty much it for that gank attempt. Well played by the side of Omega Gaming, but just gonna get flashed away from and gonna get nullified.
Yeah, you only get one of those every 5 minutes, and now going to use the ulti.
Ooh, it's going to be a big shockwave onto Princeton here. Good opportunity to take him down here. They're going to try to turn it around, but Drunken Blind going to pick up Princeton on the backside, and now Drunken Blind going to be looking for Fall of Artemis as well, but maybe taking a bit too many turret shots. Neither party going to drop, but both going to go incredibly low.
Yeah, so it's a trade of mid laners right there, and in questions like this, it's important to see where the wave has ended up, and it looks like both of them going to get pushed in. Going to be a big chunk of gold in Fallen Artemis' pocket from underneath the turret, but hopefully the mid lane stabilizes itself and it just becomes RNG, a quick 50-50 as to which mid lane is going to get the priority on the wave.
Yeah, just gonna have Fallen Artemis sitting back there a little bit, can throw a few more rocks at the wave to make sure it resets in a way they want. But yeah, just going to be meeting up in the middle of the wave as both parties are just running their way back. Princeton gonna maybe beat the side of Sharp Circle just a little bit.
Yeah, the innate movement speed that tier 2 boots give you definitely going to help you out there, vastly outweighing the power of the quick distance move speed boost. You can see up on this top side that we actually have a Hextech alternator here for Simulacrum, so going to be a bit more on the AP side here with this Malphite build, definitely putting the harass down. With the Phage on the Shen in the inventory, might be a little bit more tenuous if he's tanky enough to deal with this Malphite.
That is pretty spicy, with two other engage tools coming through from the Encore on the Seraphine and the Fate Sealed from the Yone, going to probably hope to be picking up a lot of damage off of that Malphite ultimate if one of his teammates can set it up for him.
Yeah, exactly. This is now sort of leading toward maybe a secondary source of engage for Unleashed when you do opt into those heavy AP items. The Malphite not quite as tanky as they maybe might have hoped for, so going to dodge out on the hook right there, but you have to, just remember that with those Mercury treads as well, it's going to be fairly easy for the sustain to come through and also for that CC to be reduced, to be mitigated, and hopefully for the Shen to be able to be a little bit more tankier as you would hope for and as you would expect here for AOE.
Yeah, and now I'm just going to be looking down in this bot lane. A pretty good freeze being set up over by the side of Omega Gaming. They were set behind early by a disfavorable fight there, and so they're just going to be trying to keep that wave on their side of the map so that Olaf can't come down and mess with them anymore.
No, and it's exactly what they should be doing, right? And with these odd Qs going a little bit wide right here, pushing the wave back, it's not necessarily ideal, but it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world either. And an adjustment with this, going to be able to keep his Infernum as well. Never really wanted to use the Infernum, and here comes that repeat gank mid.
Yeah, that is going to be Weaver's Wall coming through on a Sharp Circle. This time the Fate Seal does land, even with the Shen ultimate, just bursting right through it to get Sharp Circle taken down early on. That is going to be a waste of the Stand United, as well as a kill for the mid lane.
Yeah, there's just nothing that you can do as the Orianna versus that. You flashed it once, you cannot flash it again. They just come back with all their cooldowns back up and available, and here comes the fight bot.
Ooh, that's going to be Flash Flay from the side of Jabber. He's going to be bringing in his Olaf with the Dark Passage, and they're going to easily pick up Seraphine after both summoners are used, and now trying to dive onto Adjustment. But once again, Drunken Blind might be taking too much of the turret shots, and a big three-man ultimate comes through for Simulacrum. Likely going to be able to pick up all of these kills, cleaned up by the help of Fallen Artemis. A double kill to the Malphite, an AP Malphite root, dude. It is online.
Simulacrum just TPs in, says thank you very much. Gets the quick 3-piece. That's going to net the Dragon as well for Unleashed. Timing on that could not have been better. Getting the 3 kills, getting the Ocean Dragon as well. Flaming Thunder going to pick up a couple of plates on the top side, but in comparison to the assists for Adjustment, the assists for Sub, and also the kills that came through. 1 for Fallen and then 2 back for Simulacrum. So much gold now back in the inventories of Unleashed, and this game leveled right back up.
Yeah, Sub gonna drop a worth in all chat for that one after he's able to just end up giving up his life, gives up both summoners, but the triple kill for his team picked up on the back end. You'll take that as a support any day.
And it goes to show, right, that albeit that I said that your team comp doesn't do as well in the early game, but when the enemy team overextends like that and when they give you the plays like that, you shouldn't be lackadaisical with it. You should definitely look to capitalize, and Unleashed do exactly that. They net themselves so many kills and all that advantage that Omega Gaming Unleashed worked so hard to keep. Now gonna get thwarted as Adjustment likely gonna fall once again.
He can't survive this. He's 1v3. He's got the Olaf going on to him, and he has no summoners, so he's gonna end up picked up on the backside there. Princeton, though, is going to have this knockup, going to go for this, going to use the seal to pick him up there, but it is going to be a big ultimate from Orianna, going to pull them away. You're going to keep Sharp Circle alive with just a sliver of HP.
Yeah, and he actually uses the Fate Seal to go back into the Shockwave right there. I'm not sure, I mean, that definitely wasn't the intention, but either way, definitely not where he wanted to be, and just allows Sharp Circle to live on a smattering of health. You can see as well, top side, there could be a potential dive.
All right, going to be looking for the dive here on the Flaming Thunder, going to force the flash out of him here, and now Yone Princeton going aggressive in the mid lane, going to force the flash out of the Orianna, but oh my god, this Rift Herald just rampaging through the bottom lane. They're going to bust the inhibitor turret open at 14 minutes. Forget about the turret plates, we're going for the inhibitor.
So much value out of that Herald, that's for sure. Netting themselves now that 2,500 gold lead. Adjustment just left down bot lane. Well, you know, what can I do right there? This is going to be just him trying to defend up against this, just the onslaught of the minions. And now we'll be able to pick himself up some nice farm. And the issue with pushing that wave so far in without having done your due diligence with the rest of the outer turrets does mean that Adjustment likely going to be able to farm up fairly freely, so safe next to his base and next to his Nexus, of course, where as AOE going to have to overextend vastly to start getting any farm in this lane at all.
And Rudude, now that we've calmed down a little bit and have some time to look at the items, let's look at Smalkram. He's, you know, he's my boy. He's a friend of the broadcast. But he does have Bammy, Cinder, and Hextech Alternator right now. How do you feel about that?
This is what they call the B-Rise efficiency tier list right here, and B-Rai, a lovely friend of Omega, he's going for just all of the items that give great stat efficiency, and then going to go into what they build into maybe later on. I'm not sure if we sell the Alternator, but Barmy, Cinder, Merc Treads, and Hextech Alternator all have just insane gold value for what they provide and what they give you for so little, that he's just built up all of those items. Going to go into... I'm surprised I didn't see a Seeker's Arm Guard as well at some point. Up against Shen Olaf, I was expecting that one to come through. But definitely, it's not the worst thing in the world. It does obviously delay your Mythic and delay your spikes by a significant portion, but every small item you get sets you up nicely.
Ooh,
now
Weaver's
Fallen.
Wall going to be coming in, trying to cut off the members of the God Squad here, but they do still have a gap to run through. They're going to be going away here as there are multiple members of Omega Gaming chasing here, going to force the flash out. Malcolm's ultimate just ends up flashed away from a disaster for the side of Omega Gaming Unleashed, as the Fate Seal just going to get immune by the Olaf, but Fallen Artemis is cutting it out so well and doing so much damage. Now they're going to be going for the re-engage here. The push away from Fallen Artemis going to get them even farther away. Beast Lance just can't keep up with the fight and can't deal the damage that is needed. That's going to be a whiff on the Shockwave here, and now here comes Adjustment to force the other members back away.
Yeah, so a 1-for-1 overall right there. Flashing away from the Malphite ulti makes him a significantly less scary rock, turning him more into a pebble right there. And we do have another pause coming on through, but you see, as soon as Adjustment joins the fight, they have to back away. And unfortunately, as Aphelios, you don't have the greatest ability to re-engage situations like that, unless you are, of course, using Gravitum ulti. But you don't want to go too far forward for sake of just absolutely getting obliterated by 4 members.
And that could have been a lot worse there. So Malcolm probably biting off a little bit more than he can chew there as his ultimate gets flashed away from, and the Yone ultimate gets immuned by the side of Drunken Blind, going to make it so difficult for them to actually get the engage they were looking for. And without Adjustment even present, it means that they just don't have access to the damage that they would have needed to take that fight. It ends up being a 1-for-1 as Drunken Blind wasn't able to actually pick up the side of Fallen Artemis. He just got kited out by the Talia and by all of that damage that she's produced from being 4-0. But it really was on the knife's edge of being a terrible fight for the side of Omega Gaming Unleashed.
Exactly, and you know, we say all of this, but they were 3 versus 4 then in that back-end instance, and if the fights are looking so bad for them when they're missing Adjustment, what's it going to look like with Adjustment in the fight? It's these sorts of things that we do have to figure out and try and account for, because if the ADC is there, you know, that does become just an entirely different situation. So we'd have to wait for a proper full-on 5 versus 5, I suppose, quote, before it becomes clear which team has the outright advantage. You obviously still have to consider AOE have got themselves that 2,000 gold lead, a little bit extra on top of that, just off of that Rift Herald push, pretty much. 52 seconds on that Mountain Dragon as well, so expect to see another fight impending, depending on if the squads want to try and take this fight or not.
Yeah, and we're just going to be sitting in with this pause for a little bit. Going to say ahead of time we should pause at 16:35, dude, just to make sure we can get right back into the stream. But in the meantime, just going to be taking a look down on the items there. You can see Yone has completed his Immortal Shield Bow there, and that's just going to be giving him a lot more survivability in these fights, while Orianna looks to be going maybe towards the Leandries this game.
I think this is Luden. I think Leandri's is
Actually, it's probably Ludens. Never mind.
the
Wrong item. But
codex, right? I mean, these new items have got me confused as well, so so do not worry. The R's are coming out in the chat, so hopefully we're going to be getting back underway pretty shortly here. It took me forever to remember what the top lane itemizations were. I still couldn't quite remember what the Iron Spike Whip was called until maybe a week ago or so, and there's still like a few of those rogue new items that I honestly just can't remember.
yeah, I think I've got most of the item names down at this point, but just the components are still something I'm working on as we are going to get right back into here. I am paused at 16:35, Rudude.
Beautiful as am I, and with that, I reckon 3, 2, 1 on pause. We're going to be all ready to go and see if this Drake fight does amount to anything at all, or whether we do just see Unleashed or AOE for that fact give it up. Big wave down on the bot side as well that AOE will have to be picking up, and hopefully going to send at least Kai'Sa down there to pick up all of that CS. Going to be much appreciated in the ADC's pocket here. You can see she's gone for that fast Q evolution with the serrated Dirk in the inventory pretty early on, going Collector as well as the second item. Going to net a lot of execute damage if we can find that fully enhanced Q onto just a single target.
And that is going to be the Luden's Tempest finished up for Sharp Circle there. That is what that item is called. Thank you, Rudude. As now we are just going to be seeing both sides kind of grouping up around the mid lane here. And compared to last game, it's not a large gold lead, but last game was huge. It's still a very substantial lead to the side of the God Squad here, as they do have 3K ahead at 1730.
Yeah, and not quite having the priority on the Dragon could set them back right here. Shan has TP and he's coming into the pit.
Oh, that's going to be a flash play from Jabber, going to be getting a big hook on a Fallen Artemis, and probably can't escape here, but he actually just walks forward and smites away the dragon. Are you kidding me? He's going to get taken down for that, but manages to pick it up at the end of the day. A great play by Fallen Artemis, and, you know, he ends up going down for it, but that was going to happen one way or the other.
Looking to rout them. They have no turrets. Look at this flank right here. Ori has Shockwave and a big flank here.
Oh, both sides are going to have to back away here, but it is just going to be a full engage onto Sharp Circle, and they're going to pick him up with the Malphite ultimate plus Yone ultimate combo. Now, Princeton going to find himself in a 1 versus 3, and he's likely going to get picked up here. He's just going to try to survive as long as he can, but he just can't do it. Flaming Thunder got into the backside and was able to pick up Sub there, so it is going to be a 3-for-1 fight, but good turn to stop absolute disaster from the side of Omega Gaming, getting onto Sharp Circle before he can even ult.
Yeah, let's not get it mistaken. That wasn't good for Omega Gaming Unleashed. It was just definitely not as bad as it definitely should have been right there. The turn and burn from Samalcrum with Princeton to just use their ultimates on the flanking angle that was their real source of weakness. Getting rid of the Orianna before she could even Shockwave was the leading contributor to the fact that they were able to get away with just 2 alive. The fact that they traded 1 for 2 in the back end of that fight just sort of shows that they've got their heads screwed on and they know what they want to be doing in these team fights. It was still very good from AOE to recognise that they were able to collapse on that with no turrets in that bot side due to that earlier use of the Rift Herald. And now we're trying to pick up that second Rift Herald as well. Neutral objectives getting traded across the map right here. The Dragon secured by Fallen Artemis, but the second Rift Herald going to get picked up by Drunken Blind.
Yeah, going to be just using that Olaf, who's, by the way, at 100% kill participation here. It's 3, 2, and 6, making a lot of action happen this game. Now has picked up another Rift Herald, and that first one rampaged all the way through the bot lane, going all the way through to the inhibitor. So let's see if they're able to make the second one make as much happen.
Yeah, I doubt, of course, that Omega Gaming are going to allow that to happen for the second time. Your mid-tier 1 and 2 turrets, both far more valuable than those bottom lane ones, so I expect that there'd be a bit more of a mounted defense there if they're able to look toward those. But looks like for the time being they're going to get the resets and look to spend their gold right here. We're 5,000 to the good here for AOE right now, and they're looking fairly decent to try and put a few more dints into the Omega Gaming Unleashed armor with, as we say, that 5k gold lead. They should be able to definitely break open this mid-tier 1 using just the Rift Herald alone, likely going to take down everything that they have on that 1 turret remaining as it gets spawned up. Unless Unleashed roam out into the mid lane right now, it is going to fall just to the charge.
Yeah, and looking back towards Samalcrum's items, just because we were talking about him earlier, he has gone for the Frostfire Gauntlet this game. Maybe a little bit less popular of a choice, but a very good one on Malphite. It is a more armor-heavy option, and also ends up giving you the increased champion size as the game goes on, which increases the efficiency of your Malphite ultimates.
Exactly, right? So picking up these Slightly more niche items, but recognizing their uses and their profits are where they are appropriate. Smalcrum going to be standing in that brush, becomes that formidable foe inside there, and the Lantern face check. Very wise from Jabba to make sure that he's not face checking any brushes that he shouldn't be face checking. 21 minutes now on the clock, and still 5,000 gold behind our Omega Gaming, and with a 400 gold bounty on the Kaiser as well, that's something that they should be looking towards in team fights, because with 2 items, Kaiser going to be far out surpassing the Aphelios in terms of how his use is
Fallen
going to
Artemis
be.
might be a little bit caught out here. He's going to have to flash away, but it's going to be the Ragnarok coming on through from the side of Drunken Blind. He's throwing through 3 people here. He's got the Shen ultimate coming through, and that's going to be a big ultimate coming through from Beast Lance, but he might just get picked up here by Smalcrum, as Smalcrum just trying to solo him out here. Princeton going to end up getting that shutdown, but the rest of Omega is just getting wiped here by this Olaf. He moves on towards Princeton, and Princeton's going to try to flash away, but he's not going to be able to get away. He gets death sentenced and picked up by Sharp Circle, and now it is a 4-for-1 fight in favor of AOE God Squad. They're going to move on to the Baron.
Yeah, they might be able to pick this one up here. Importantly, the Kaiser has gone down to that percent HP damage. Not going to be there, but you can see that they just don't need it. This Baron is getting absolutely shredded through with the Shen, with the Olaf as well. More than enough damage to take down this Baron, and Smalcrum just going to farm himself up some minions on the bot side.
Yeah, just was not able to find a good grouping of opposing champions to get onto there. He engaged onto Beast Lance and was able to get the shutdown for his team at the end of the day, but Adjustment, Sub, and Fallen Artemis just were on the wrong side of that engage. They got ran through by the Olaf so early on, and they couldn't stop him because of Ragnarok, so they just end up taken down.
No, it goes to show you, right, that in times gone by, that Olaf might have just died right there, but Aphelios still fairly weak right here. You can see the difference in AD carry items. We've effectively got a full collector over the top of the Kaiser on relative to Adjustment right now, and with 2 levels as well. The base stats coming from that are going to be fairly huge, but now the Dragon, Blastcone is there.
Oof. Going to be picking themselves up that Dragon, going on to Soul Point. Fallen Artemis' smiting skills really doing the most of anything on Omega Gaming Unleashed this game, as they are going to be trying to use these Dragons as their pathway back into the game, and they're certainly going to need it because, geez, as you were just saying, Rudy, that's a 4k gold lead for Beast Lance in just the bot lane.
Yeah, I mean, that is where we'll say the majority of this lead is. If we check back in with game number 1, Smalcrum had a similar situation amassing for himself, and now we'll have to wait and see how much Baron value AOE can get from this. If they're able to put some finishing touches onto the outer turrets, which it looks like they are, going to be able to put the inner ones down to rest as well. 125 gold for all of the participants of slaying that one, but with 2 people farming mid lane right here, the top wave not quite yet crashed, but they could look to try and force an engage down here, with Drunken Blind being quite easily just roaming his way through in the jungle and forcing fights wherever he may please. There's always that world where the Olaf engage is just ever present. Now, 9,000 gold up here, AOE. Looking really strong in this second game and using that early game snowball really to their advantage.
Yeah, they certainly are, and now the side of Omega Gaming just going to have to retreat back into their base and try to consolidate their resources here, just to try to stop their inhibitors from getting blown up and prevent themselves from getting locked into this base even more harshly. They need to find an opening to be able to get out in about 3.5 minutes to try to contest for this Dragon's Soul.
Yeah, and you know, this Baron, they've not quite been able to net any inhibitor turrets, save for the one on the bottom side, which they got with that Rift Herald earlier on in the game. And typically you want to see the Baron find at least an inhibitor in terms of usefulness, so for the most part Unleashed at the minute have been able to weather the storm effectively. Still 40 seconds on the cooldown, or on the buff timer rather, so still an opportunity, but that wave's going to fall and they're not going to be able to find anything, needing another one. They have one more chance at the wave to crash in, but their comp, relatively short range. Yes, they've got 2 range characters in the Kaiser and the Orianna, but Orianna, that typically battle mage, and Kaiser as well, a really short range ADC, finds it very difficult to step up to the turret, especially with Smalcrum just there. Impending doom really does await any of those ranged champions that try and step up a little too close to that turret.
Yeah, and they are going for a 1-3-1 setup here with their Baron, but it might be just too little too late as the Baron buff's about to run out here, and they aren't going to have actually cracked any inhibitors. So good survival from the side of Omega Gaming Unleashed. They aren't inhibitorless yet, and so are likely going to be able to find pathways out of their base for the foreseeable future, but the doors are closing, Rudude. It looks like the side of the AOE God Squad are just ballooning their gold advantage farther and farther, and pretty soon they're going to be able to win these these fights as long as Fallen Artemis isn't able to just steal away more dragons.
No, exactly. And let's not forget that God Squad's composition still scales really well. They have Kai'Sa, Orianna, and a Shen. Like, these are champions that in the late game are going to pump out an absolute ton of damage, and nobody really can be ignored. Shen opting into a more AD-oriented build, definitely going to put Adjustment under threat as well. Look at the level difference between those two as well. If the Shen is able to find the backline, has to sustain himself through Divine Sunderer, through Tiamat, and if he's hitting the Shen as well, which he's probably going to have to be to kill him, has to be dealing with that Bramble Vest as well, and the Olaf with that 3-level lead, going to make it incredibly difficult for Adjustment to cut through pretty much any of the front line.
Yeah, importantly, Princeton has picked up that Infinity Edge there, so he is going to be completing his crit setup and crit base for his Yone there. Going to hopefully be using that in this next Dragon fight, as that is probably where we're going to see this game decided for sure. And now just going to be clearing away waves in the mid lane. They want to make sure on the side of God Squad that they have this priority so that they can move on into the bot lane river and take vision control for the next minute.
Well, I think we say that, but the good thing with Unleashed having picked up those previous 2 dragons is that they've got maybe 1 or 2 in them that they can just afford to concede without giving up the soul. If it was the other way around, and it was AOE God Squad that have got 2 of the Mountain Drakes on top of their own respective bonus one, then maybe, yes, we see Unleashed having to be forced out and take the fight, but with this lead of 2 Drakes, I don't really think that they need to push out, and they don't need to necessarily fight for this one, unless, of course, God Squad overextend.
Oh, here we go. That's going to be the Weaver's Wall coming through, and Smalcolm's going to flash forward and go right onto Sharp Circle, but the Redemption going to come through and keep him alive. Here comes the Fate Sealed, though, and it's going to be used to shut down Drunken Blind, but it looks like it's going to be Kai'Sa. It's completely been untouched on the other side, and Beast Lance is just going to melt through multiple members of Omega Gaming, and with that, they're going to finally be able to crack this bot lane inhibitor that they exposed oh so long ago, and they're going to be moving back to take up that dragon.
Yeah, and even without the Shockwave, even at a numbers disadvantage to begin with, Omega Gaming Unleashed unable to take that fight, and now they get re-engaged on.
Flash engage, great from Flaming Thunder there, as he's just going to be trying to pick up here, but he's not actually going to get it. He's going to find himself shut down by Adjustment. Now Princeton maybe biting off a little bit more than he can chew, goes for an aggressive engage, finds himself flayed back in and picked up by Beast Lance.
Yeah, and a little bit of a trade of rogue engages from the solo laners right there. Flaming Thunders looked really strong, but with the flash, with the barrier, the sub able to just about make it out alive, and Adjustment still has his heal to try and keep himself up and surviving, but you can see that this dragon handily going to go in the hands of the God Squad. Looks like a master of Omega Gaming Unleashed going to take the time to clear out some of that topside vision and really make sure that they have at least a pathway toward the Baron, because giving up a second one is going to be a lot more detrimental without having to, because AOE basically don't have to take down those turrets, which they spent quite a large portion of their first Baron buff doing.
Yeah, that was an important item threshold for Adjustment there. He's able to pick up his second item on this Aphelios, the Hurricane, that recently reworked item to make it cheaper and a more efficient second buy. Very good for Aphelios and pulls him even farther into the meta than he already was, but the dragon does not end up going towards their side. The fight does not go towards their side, and now the base has been cracked by the side of the AOE God Squad, just continuing to take this lead wherever they want it.
And going to be taking it toward that Baron, you'd have to assume here. Drunken Blind trying to sweep out the vision. Fortunately, Unleashed have got themselves a fairly decent ward as well. They do see the two members hitting that Baron. And on the other side, it doesn't look like they've got any vision on the other side of the pit here for AOE God Squad. Here comes the TP, and Smalcolm going to look to force a fight.
Yeah, and they do not want a 50-50 this on the side of the AoE God Squad, so they're going to start moving away, but the base is getting slammed on by these super minions. He was not able to clear those away before he channeled the teleport, and so it is now on to Omega Gaming. They have to make something happen here. They can't just leave and let them get back onto the Baron. And look at Flaming Thunder. He's sprinting down towards that base. He's going to try to take the base while they're stuck down here, and the Baron gets started up again just like that, and now Omega Gaming is being pulled in 2 directions. They don't know where to go, and they need to make a decision right now.
Yeah, they have to try and do something. Shen already looking at the Nexus turrets, though. This failed flashing gate. Here comes Smalcolm's attempt now.
Yeah, so Malcolm's just going to have to go for an ultimate here. The fucking...
One turret's down.
That's going to be the Encore going wide, and now Adjustment going to find himself engaged on. He's going to get picked up by the Shockwave from the side of Orianna, and now it's going to be an easy pickup from Fallen Artemis as Adjustment gets chunked out onto as well. And now it's just Olaf running wild through the rest of the base. Princeton going to get taken down as well. That is a 4-for-1 fight in the favor of the AoE God Squad. He has no chance.
No, and that is going to be the game here, surely, with Shen TPing into the base. Malcolm just going to be stopped by the Orianna. And it's going to be a 1-for-1 in the end of the best of two series right there. A really good stop, a really good comeback, really, from AOE God Squad. Definitely putting themselves out on the map. And after a dominant game number 1 from Omega Gaming Unleashed, it's nice to see that the league is very competitive and that everybody is able to take games, at least in this series, nonetheless. And the victory screen coming on in, that's a really nice little 1-for-1 that we've seen.
That is an easy pickup for the AoE God Squad, and that is going to end up being a 1-to-1 series for our first best of two of the night. Going to be some great moments and some poor moments coming through for both teams, and both are now just going to have to take what they've learned here into their next series of the night, which is going to be starting in just about 20 minutes, Rude.
Yeah, exactly. So we have got probably a little bit of respite, and I think that supposedly, if Meme City Esports are also out of their out of their best of two set, then we might be able to get right back into it. But obviously, if not, and if they're still playing their games, then we will have to take a little bit of an extended break here. So guys, do bear with us because we do have another best of two ready for everybody waiting on the other side of this break. It might be a little bit longer, but I promise you it will be definitely worth it. Me and Gordo will join you on the other side here, so don't hesitate to stick around. The action continues in just a little bit here.